Okay, quick recap from the last video. I made it to Japan. All the paperwork was there. However, I did not have a place to stay. All right, let's get into it. I landed. I landed. I got my residence card. I took the train. I was really excited because I was really tired and I was ready to lay my head down. I walked there and this was night. It was nighttime. And I couldn't find my apartment. The apartment was not there. I looked on the website again and again and again and again. I made sure that that was the address. Because to be honest, I didn't use, this was my fault. To be honest, I didn't use the exact address from the lease. I used it from the website because the website was in English and my actual address was in English. And that's the only thing that I could recognize. So I was like, okay, English, boom, boom, boom. That's great. So I basically was just there. All of my bags just standing in front of this random building. It doesn't look familiar at all. I'm heated, but I'm more stressed. I'm more stressed because I'm thinking, man, I got scammed. This is not great. So I typed it in again. I circled the area for about 30 to 50 extra minutes just to see what was going on. And I just could never find it. I thought it was a map error, but apparently it wasn't. So I said, that's great. That's awesome. So, gosh, I still cannot believe this happened. So basically, at night, I saw this. I'm trying to think about how to picture it. It was basically like this big garage, and it was just this huge garage, and I just went inside that garage. And in my mind, I wasn't even thinking that this is sketchy as heck. I just went in the garage, and I just stood there because I was in disbelief. And my phone was about to die too, which is great. And I just didn't know what to do. I was really stressed. And I didn't know the language. And to be honest, I didn't figure out my data situation either, like for my phone. So I said, well, I don't know what to do. So I just stood there for like 10, 20 minutes. And then I said, well, I should probably ask strangers where this place is. So luckily, this person was so godsend. So luckily I was in the actual garage, and this guy, I just went up to him. I said, excuse me, sumimasen. And I just said, apartment? I don't know why I said I didn't have my data situation figured out. Let me scratch that, because I actually had data for a solid 48 hours since I landed. Like I had 48 hours of unlimited data. So I was actually okay with the data part. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, resume. So I went up to this person. I said, "Sir, I don't know." And he didn't speak. He spoke like very, very little English, but he didn't speak enough to be fluent. So I just went up to him. I said, "Sir, apartamento, donde está apartamento?" Because in my brain, I was thinking, oh, foreign language. I was speaking Spanish. We are in Japan. So he had no idea what I was saying. So I just showed him like a picture of the address. I said, does this look familiar? The English didn't look familiar to him at all. But the place kind of looked familiar to him. And he said, "Oh, okay, I think it's this place." Well, he didn't say that. He obviously spoke it in Japanese, but he typed it in his phone. And he basically pulled it up. I said, "Okay, that might be where I am." So I said, "Oh, okay, let's do it." So I looked at my phone, and I don't have Japanese characters. The address was in Japanese characters, the one that he typed. It wasn't the one that I typed. So I was really confused. I just didn't know how to type it in there. I literally did not know how to type it on my phone. So the guy, he was like, I don't know what to do either. So we were just basically just looking at each other, just trying to figure it out, because he saw that I was visibly stressed. Oh my gosh, I was seeking refuge in a freaking garage. Dude, oh my gosh, it was so insane. But yeah, we just kept looking. We used all the translating apps, and I was just like, can you just, I don't even know. To be honest, I just gave him my phone. I gave him my phone, and I was just like, can you please just figure it out? Because I just don't know. I just don't know. I don't know anything at this point. So he eventually typed it. I don't know how he typed it. Actually, I do know how. I had him type it in a translator app that did Romaji or whatever. Romaji is basically English letters. Oh, I don't know if it's necessarily English letters. Like the Roman language letters. Regular letters for people who speak English and Spanish and those types of languages. So he typed it in my phone, and I said, "Oh, thank God." And the apartment was 30 minutes away, like a 30-minute walk. I was just like, are you freaking kidding me? But then I told him, "Arigato gozaimasu, arigato gozaimasu," and he was basically said something Japanese, and I said, "Ha, bow, bow, bow." So then I was like, well, I guess it's time for me to walk 30 minutes in the dark. So I walked 30 minutes in the dark. Boom, 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 one foot in front of the other. And the whole time, to be honest, I didn't think about safety at all while I was walking to my apartment complex. I wasn't thinking about safety at all. It was honestly surreal, because in any other city or any other country, I don't think I would have walked in the dark by myself with two big bags that obviously showed that I was new here. So I was walking one foot in front of the other, and I still couldn't find my apartment. So I was visibly stressed, and I just kept walking and walking. But then I looked up, and then I was like, oh, hallelujah. It was my apartment complex. So I was like, ooh, cool. I didn't get scammed. This place is real. Halle. So I walked in, and you needed a code to get in the door. So I said, well, I don't know the code, because I was never given the code. So what we gonna do? So I basically sat in front of the apartment complex, because my phone was also dying, and I just did not know what to do. So God, this was so insane. So basically, what I had to do, this is so ghetto. Oh my God. So I had to deal with my phone being almost dead, the first situation. So I grabbed my charger, I left my bags inside, and I found a random plug outside of the apartment complex and charged my phone there. It was so ghetto. Oh my God. And I could just imagine all of my Japanese neighbors. They were probably thinking, who is this weirdo with these two big bags just parked in front of the freaking door, and they have their freaking charger just charging their phone. What is this? This guy is crazy. Because obviously I lived in a very Japanese heavy city where they don't get a whole lot of foreigners. So they're probably like, what the heck is going on here? I know they were scared. I know they were confused because I would be scared too. Who are you? But I charged my phone and I sat there. And I was like, okay, let me call my guarantor company. So I called the guarantor company and I couldn't figure out how to call them because I was in another country. So just typing their number in, it was not working. So I had to call my cell service provider. It was like, hey, how do I call people in Japan? And then they said, oh, what you have to do is you have to dial this number. I think it's like 0801. I don't know the exact number, but you have to type this number before you call them. So I was like, okay, I'm about to do that. Bet. So then I called that number. And then, I was on hold, stuff like that or whatever. And then I explained the situation to them. And they're like, oh, well, you see, here's the situation. You actually cannot check in your apartment until the next day, like during the day. And you have to come all the way to Tokyo in order to get your key and all of that good stuff. Huh? Y'all, I was so mad. Oh my God. Y'all don't understand how bad it was. So like I was heated because first of all, I just finished flying over 14 hours. And then I flew 14 hours and then I went through customs. I went through this entire situation and I figured out the navigation. I forgot where I didn't think I knew where I was living. I thought y'all scammed me. And then I was like, okay. Then I was stuck in a freaking garage. And then I had to walk an extra 30 minutes to my freaking apartment. And then I was like, oh, wow, I found my apartment. I can finally get in. And then I couldn't get in. I couldn't check in. And then you tell me that I cannot check in that day. I have to wait until the next day? It's fine. It's okay. Sure. Whatever. But it was just annoying because they said on the phone that, because I told them I was going to arrive late, and they said that's not going to be a problem. You should still be able to check in at that specific apartment. But no. And you know what? I'm not even going to blame them. I should have paid a little bit more attention. I'm taking full ownership. Well, I'm not taking full ownership, but I am going to take full ownership. But I am taking my share of the blame. I should have done more research, but I'm going to be honest, y'all. I was exhausted, like trying to find a place, and then it was a lot, like trying to find a place and still working a full-time job at the same time, and then packing and then moving. It was a lot, especially by yourself with no help from anyone. It was a lot. So there might have been a few things that I missed, but they did say that I could go into the apartment, but that's neither here nor there. So basically I got that call and I said, well, clearly I can't just stay here because they might call the cops and they would have every right to do so. There's this strange guy just laying in front of this apartment complex. Of course I got to figure something out. So then I just walked around. I was like, well, hotels, hostels, something near me, like something open. And I was looking through hotels and they were like booked. I said, well, I guess I'll just walk until I find a hostel. And so eventually I did walk. I found a hostel. I went into the hostel. I paid in cash. The hostel was pretty okay. It was one of those, I don't know what they're called. It was in one of those capsules. Yeah, it was a capsule hostel. So I stayed there. I stayed there because I was actually able to lay down and I was able to get some rest. And it was so needed. And I think the cost was about, let's see, it was like 3,000 yen. So it was about $20 USD. So I wasn't complaining about, well, I was complaining about it. I would have rather been in my bed. But it was nice. Like, I was grateful. I wish I would have known that I had to just stay in a hostel earlier. But, that's neither here nor there. So then the next morning, the rest of this story is very basic. The next morning I went to the guarantor company. I they said sorry for the miscommunication. I said it's fine. It's okay. Let's just get this done now. They gave me the code. They gave me my key. Yeah. So yeah, they gave me the code. They gave me my key, and then I went back an hour back to my apartment complex, and then I walked into my apartment, and I made it to Japan, and I wasn't scammed. So yeah, all's well that ends well. But to this day, I still cannot believe that happened. I am just so grateful that I don't know, I was really proud of myself that day though. I really was. I was proud of myself for figuring that out. Because I could have cried about it, but it wasn't going to do anything. So I was like, well, let me just figure it out. And I figured it out. And I have a crazy story to tell people. So, did you learn something from this story? Probably not, but I'm in Japan and I get to live here. And it's actually pretty awesome. So yeah, thanks for watching and everyone have a good day. Do you got plans tonight? I'm a couple 100 miles from Japan and I